Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. This is Art Speak on 89.5 FM WSKB and Westfield Community Programming on Channel 15. Patrick Berry is our co-host today. Peter Coles is our engineer, and we are south of the border in the theater that is a Tony Award-winning regional theater, Hartford Stage, currently presenting A Christmas Carol for the holiday season, and I believe it's been over 20 years since A Christmas Carol made its debut here at Hartford Stage. We have three members of the Hartford Stage company with us today, and one is the director of this production, one is one of the actors, and one is the dance captain. And
which I can't wait to talk about.
Yeah, Patrick's been dying to find out what a dance captain does. But anyway, Rachel Alderman, the director of this production, who just directed Cry It Out, which I had the luxury to see and very much enjoyed.
Oh, good.
We have the actor John Andrew Morrison.
Hello.
And you play Mr. Marvel,
Mr. Marvel
in A
indeed.
Christmas Carol. And Sarah Killip, the dance captain. You also play some other parts as well.
Yes, I'm a dancing ghost, and then Fred's sister-in-law.
Well, first of all, how long have you all been associated with A Christmas Carol? Because it's an annual thing, and one of the things that I notice is that some of the actors come back year after year after year.
Yeah, we're a family. This is my 5th season with A Christmas Carol, so it's a joy to come back to it every year.
And I'm sorry, just 5th year in which capacity? As director?
My first season, 5 years ago, I was the associate director, learning the show from Max Williams, who directed it before me, and then so this is now my 4th season, I think, directing it.
Good for
Yeah,
you.
so it's great. Yeah, it's great fun.
Jan?
Yes, this is my 3rd season playing Mr. Marvel. And I'm very thankful to Rachel's mother for helping me get cast in this role.
Boy, there's a lot of storylines I wasn't expecting. Okay. We got Boots, we got Rachel's mother, and the dance captain.
She did not do your audition for you.
She did do the audition, but she was like, maybe you should look at this guy.
Quasi-casting director, yeah. Accidental casting director.
And what about you, Sarah?
This is my 8th year in the show. My first year, I was a Hart student because of the partnership between the Hart School and Hartford Stage.
What year did you graduate, you, Hart? Trust me, we're all way older than you, so it doesn't matter.
2010.
Oh, you're kidding. Jeez. I got shoes older than you.
So, does this particular production change much year to year? Do you add things? Do you revise things?
Sure. Well, it's always the same wonderful production, but what we do every year is we have a new set of Hart students every year that we incorporate into the show. The senior Hart students every year, the acting students are in the show, and then we have a brand new group of child actors in our youth ensemble. So some of them are returning. We have 28 youth, and some of them are brand new. And then every year there's a little bit of tweaking from the in the design department, new props, refreshed costumes, and then as we grow and return to the show year after year, there's always the things you learn about the show because of your own experience. The ritual of it makes it new.
So let me ask you, why incorporate the University of Hartford students or the youth ensemble? What's the purpose of that?
We are a reflection of Hartford and the Hartford community, and so it's a wonderful intergenerational opportunity to celebrate everybody in our community on our stage and in our audience. So we've got our youth ensemble, our wonderful partnership with the Hart School, and then our equity professional acting ensemble, and all of that combined. And many of our crew come back year after year. Tons of our crew are returning. So it really is a gift that we can give to everyone.
Is the youth ensemble from a specific school, or is it from anybody in the greater Hartford area?
Anybody in Connecticut. We've
really?
got,
Okay.
or even beyond. We've had kids from Massachusetts and Rhode Island sometimes.
North of the border.
North of the border.
There were two sisters from Long Meadow that had
Yeah.
been in A Christmas Carol a couple of years ago.
Lily and Nora, they drove down from Long Meadow
It's not that far.
every
We came from Long Meadow, too.
right.
Okay.
It's
Half
not
hour.
that far. So we have our annual children auditions, usually in late August or early September, and it's posted on our website. And anybody who's under 13 and under can audition to be part of the youth ensemble.
Is this the only performance throughout the season that you use the youth ensemble, or are you Hart? the Hart School kids?
No. Actually, because of our Hart School partnership, we have Hart students in various capacities in other shows. We just had a wonderful Hart student named Eddie Cruz was part of the Quixote Nuevo cast, and we have some Hart students that are going to be part of Jane Eyre and also hopefully Our Wilderness coming up. It's a great way for the Hart students to get a great professional experience and
Absolutely.
network and be part of the work that we do here at Hartford Stage. And then Youth Ensemble, one of our some of the kids in our youth ensemble sometimes get to be part of other shows throughout the season. 2 seasons ago, one of them was in Make Believe, the Best Wall premiere that we did, and this year one of them is going to be in Jane Eyre.
That's wonderful.
And incidentally, that Make Believe, I believe it's the New York Times, it just called it, it moved on to New York and was listed as one of the best plays of the year.
Yeah, Best Wall did an amazing job, and they did a production of it down there, and we're really thrilled that it has more life to live. That's why we do it. That's why we put things out into the world so they can.
What brought you, aside from auditions, what brought you to Hartford Stage?
Rachel's mother.
Mark, we've already established his mom.
Shouting out to Debbie Shapiro.
Debbie Shapiro.
Should we say that one more time? Debbie Shapiro?
Debbie Shapiro.
So
Debbie
funny.
Shapiro. It was one of the loveliest calls that I've ever gotten to be invited to audition, and it was, sometimes as an actor you don't always have. It's not a nice invitation, or it's a very transactional thing, and so from the very first moment of like, would you be interested in auditioning for this? It was such a lovely. Invitation, and I did my audition on tape, and I got my callback notes, and can you make this adjustment and that adjustment, and I found myself very eager to come, and everyone was so lovely and kind, so I'm eager to come back every year.
So please share the mom story with us. How did that happen? We've been joking about it for the last few minutes, but so what happened?
It's a very tight-knit theater community, and
Is your mother an actor?
No, I used to work for a company, that Deb Shapiro works for, and Deb Shapiro and I used to have lunch together every day, and so we're good buddies. And then I left that company. I decided that if I was going to be an actor, I needed to do that full time, which meant stepping out on faith and doing the thing.
so far so good.
So far, so good. And so when I did that, I guess you had.
Well, I talked to my mother every day, and I said, we're looking for a new Mr. Marvel, and she'd seen the show before, and she's a very big theater person, and goes to see a ton of theater. And she said, well, have you thought about John Andrew? And I said, oh, I should think about him. And we did put the call out, and we saw lots of Mr. Marvels. So she just was you never know where inspiration's going to come from,
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
no, it worked out great.
So the advice is.
It's not
be
just
nice
what
at
you know,
lunch.
it's who
Be
you know.
nice.
Be nice at lunch.
Be nice at lunch.
Be nice at
But
lunch.
I have to say, and John Andrew did Jem did his audition, and then other people have to see that audition too. So we sent his audition on to Michael Wilson, who is the original adapter and director of the show. So it went through all the various stages that it went through. It wasn't just Deb giving a thumbs up.
And Rachel, how did you get here to Hartford Stage?
So we were just talking about this. I was an apprentice at Hartford Stage in the artistic department almost a decade ago at this point. And it was it was a wonderful experience. It was Michael Wilson's last season. And so I got to know the theater and the show and learn much about directing and producing at the regional theater level. And so through that, and then over the years, building my directing career and my producing track, I found my way back here in 2015.
Did you go to school for?
I went to school for theater, but for acting, actually. Yeah.
Who knows where your career path will take you, right?
And Sarah, when you came to Hart, did you Was that the transition to Hartford Stage, or did you do other
Yes.
theater and dance before?
I'm originally from Minnesota, and I found the Hart School I went to a boarding school in Michigan. I went to Interlochen Arts Academy, and some students had come here and they loved it. So I came to Hart, and I had a great time. And normally it's just the acting students who get to do A Christmas Carol, but I was lucky enough that there were only 8 or 7 actors in the acting program when I was a student. So I was a music theater student, and I was able to audition for A Christmas Carol as well, and I got to be in it then.
Good for you.
And then I also got to understudy another show in that season, Tom Sawyer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, as a student, which was great.
How
Very
did you
nice.
become a dance captain?
Well,
Now, should we salute you? I mean,
Absolutely.
always.
Yeah.
always.
No matter what the show
Jam
or the
us.
part. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I
Or
also
he
give
gives
you
me
notes.
He does every show. New choreography, it's great.
Yes.
So it's a 3-person team, the dance team. Hope Clark is the original choreographer from 22 years ago. She comes back every year to maintain the show. And Derek Harris is our dance coach. So he teaches all the choreography to the Hart students and me, again, every year. And then after they leave, I maintain the choreography.
Gotcha.
So say one of the dancers is out and we're putting on a swing.
As we did today.
Which we did today, yes. So you have a question?
What's a swing?
A swing is an understudy for an ensemble track.
Gotcha.
So Madeline said today she's covering 7 roles.
Wow.
So she got to go on for 2 of them. Well, 1, but 2 of them today.
That's the hardest,
Yeah, she has
skill
to
set.
learn. So the choreography is set to do different things on different sides of the stage. So she has to learn both sides and be able to go on at a moment's notice.
Wow.
And she did it today. She did a great job.
Yeah.
That's
It's
amazing.
really exciting.
Yeah,
it's what
it
makes
I have a hard enough time learning one role
Yeah.
doing this, let alone multiple
exactly.
roles on stage live in front
It's
of
a
people.
different kind of muscle, but
Yeah.
that's a muscle that they teach at Hart, and it's a muscle that we have to
Right.
put into practice for Christmas Carol every year because of the season and lots of different things that can come up.
I actually interviewed a young man from Westville, Massachusetts, Joshua Burrich, who was the swing for the Broadway revival of Cats. And he went on just about every night, although somebody was injured, and he knew 6 or 7on different tracks.
I didn't realize Josh had that role.
Yeah.
It's exciting. You feel like you're being
The,
shot
the
out of
new
a cannon.
lingo, yeah. I didn't.
But the dance captain, you rehearse the show once it's up and running to make sure everybody's...
Yeah, I rehearse it when we have our understudy rehearsals. We do all the dances so that the swings can do every track, and I give notes to the dancers every day. The stage manager has eyes on the show, and he's been doing it for over a decade,
Yeah.
so he knows the show very well. So he'll tell me things that I can't see, and I can share those notes because I'm in all the dances as well. So
Oh,
I
true.
can't see what's going on behind me, and the masks only have this much visibility. So.
A Christmas Carol is a large production here, and it's got dozens of people involved, and probably each person has 3 or 4 different costumes. How do you maintain a show like this? How many people are working backstage to keep it fresh?
Well, there's 50 plus people in the cast. And then there's behind the scenes, you've got people running all the automation, people running the fly rail, which helps the ghosts fly. You've got costumes and wardrobe crew. You've got running crew moving scenery backstage. You've got two spot ops. You've got
wrangler.
kid
Wrangler.
the youth director and the youth
All right,
director's assistant.
dance captain just got out. Kid Wrangler's in.
Yeah. So I don't know what the total number of people working on A Christmas Carol is, but it's north of 65,
Yeah, probably
right?
70,
Plus all the staff that do everything to
Right.
maintain the show. Every year, our entire costume shop, our props department, marketing development. I mean, it is a family affair.
And that's just one show
And
among
that
a
is
whole season. I
one
mean, we have
show.
the, right behind you guys, we have
Yeah.
the banner
And
of all
there's
the shows. Yeah.
There's we just posted a great video on Facebook that's an interview with the head of our costume shop and her assistant, and they said there's something close to 150 some odd costumes in the production.
The
Of this
dry
one,
cleaning
just-
bill every day, and the
yeah.
laundry bill must be exorbitant.
Wow. That's just funny. Those are the things people don't really think about. the cleaning of the costumes. That's got to be a constant, every
Lots.
single day process.
Oh, for
Ripping,
sure. Our wardrobe staff
your
is
repairs,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have
repairs.
one wardrobe person that's just dedicated to the youth ensemble too, because coats, gloves, socks.
And how many kids don't lose a mitten somewhere along the way?
Exactly.
You don't have the little
They're
string that goes through
Absolutely,
it.
we do. Absolutely, they're connected to the coats.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I noticed it during the previous production, Cry It Out. It was raining on stage at the very beginning, and these people are getting drenched. And I thought, those costumes have to be washed and dried every day.
Real water or fake water?
Oh, it set the mood. It rained at the beginning of the show, but the costumes, that's part of thinking through what kind of costumes, what the texture of the costume is, what the material of the costume is. Can it sustain what you're doing in Cry It Out when she throws the eggs? What costume is her lovely blouse? Can it be washed if it gets hurt? That's all part of the budget and the
And
joy.
if it's a period piece,
And if it's a period
then you've got to kind of maintain that period look, but with the
Absolutely.
modern technology of clothing
Yeah.
to repel whatever gets thrown at you like an egg.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's part of the art and the science. of
Exactly.
it.
Yep.
How much rehearsal does it take to get the people to fly in a Christmas Carol?
That's one day.
I mean,
One
Oh, we haven't told
Saturday.
you, Mark. We're stringing you up later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
I'll do it. I'm ready.
Fun.
It's
really
yeah.
fun.
Sarah gets to fly because she's an understudy for the Ghost of Christmas Past, so she actually gets to fly every year. Yeah.
Wow.
It doesn't take very long. This year we have 2 returning people on the fly team, so that's a little bit easier because they're not learning the mechanics of all of that.
Okay.
But the student, she flies, this year her name is Sarah, and it took her about, I don't know, half an hour
Yeah,
to
she
get
was a quick study too.
comfortable in it. Yeah.
Because she was a former gymnast, so she had a
That
she
helps
had a
tremendously,
feel
yeah.
for it too. But it's a little bit you're in the air, so it's a little bit different. You have to trust.
How many connection points are there?
2.
Two.
Well,
So
it
shoulder
depends.
blades
For
and
her,
lower
it's
spine?
just hips.
Oh, hips.
Just
oh,
hips.
Wow.
And then for Marley, he's got a center back,
Gotcha.
but his harness goes all the way.
We have a
Wow.
great fly company, and they come in every year and rig us up, and it's quite fun.
So
Yeah.
going back to Mark's rehearsal question, so the performance started just about Thanksgiving time. When,
Yeah,
what's so funny?
I know where you're going with this question.
How far in advance do you start the process for the show?
So it's one of the shorter processes. We the Heart students who are the ghosts come in. They came in on the 12th of November, and they started learning the dances with Derek. Then
And when did it open? The 28th?
the day after Thanksgiving. So I'll tell you
a week
this.
and a
In
half, 2 weeks. Oh my God.
Tuesday, we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with the entire ensemble, kids, Heart, Equity, in the rehearsal room. On Saturday, we learn to fly, and on Sunday, we are in our technical rehearsals, and then then that's it. And then we're running. Then it's Thanksgiving.
So
So
4
it's a
days.
very,
4
very
days.
fast
Holy
process.
smokes.
Since we were mentioning flying and costume changes, there's a fabulous Hartford stage video on their Facebook page, which shows the actor Noble Shropshire being costumed as Jacob Marley and the everything that he puts on so he can fly. And if you're interested in seeing A Christmas Carol, you should go to Hartford Stage's website, which is hartfordstage.org. Get a look at the entire season that they've got after Christmas Carol. And they've got a Facebook presence and lots of interesting interviews and videos on your Facebook page.
And the show closes December 28th.
Right.
So time is of the essence, people.
Yeah, please come.
HartfordStage.org for your tickets, right?
That's right. And you don't want to miss it, but if you happen to miss it, I'm sure it'll be back next year. It's
People
like-
won't miss it.
It's an annual
They'll be
tradition here. I'm Mark Auerbach. Patrick Barry's my co-host today on Artsbeat here on 89.5 FM WSKB, simulcast with Westfield Community Programming on Channel 15. We're talking with the folks from A Christmas Carol live from Hartford Stage in Hartford, Connecticut. Peter Coles is our engineer, and we'd like to thank some of the underwriters that support community programming here on radio and TV. We'll be right back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com. Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Art Speed, everyone, here on 89.5 FM WSKB and simulcast with Westfield Community Programming, Channel 15 on Comcast. I'm Mark Auerbach. Patrick Berry's my co-host. We are broadcasting today live from the lobby area of Hartford Stage, where a Christmas Carol is currently running. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and I want to thank Teresa McNaughton for arranging for Art Speed to come down here to Hartford Stage. This is the second time that we've been able to come to Connecticut to present specials with theaters. It's always fun to come south of the border.
And to do these live, live remotes, these are wonderful. I mean, we get stuck in the studio all the time. And while it's nice,
Come hang out with us.
Exactly. I mean, this is great. I enjoy it.
I certainly love going on the road, especially to theater. I mean, for me, it's the most fun part of the job, so to speak. What was the first play you ever saw and the show that made you decide you wanted to go into theater?
Well, I saw Annie at the Westbury Playhouse on Long Island in the Round when I was 3. And that's it. That was it. Then I was done for. I was like, well, that's what I need to do for the rest of my life.
And what was your path to going to theater? Where did you go to college, or did you just jump into it?
Yeah, well, I started doing theater. I would say my first community theater production was when I was 11. And then from there, I did lots of theater in high school. It was a really big part of my friend circle. It was a big part of my big social outlet. My family, I grew up just 45 minutes north of New York City, so we would go into New York and see shows. And then I went to Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which has a great theater department down there, and studied acting and directing and theater history, and it's been a life force. It's been everything I've ever wanted to do. So I just.
And were you studying acting and directing came second, or?
Yeah, I was a declared acting major, but I also had a real affinity for theater history and performance studies, and took directing, took little playwriting as well, and kind of didn't know exactly where I wanted to kind of focus, because it's so interconnected, all of it for me, and luckily in my professional journey, I've gotten to do a lot of different things, and I make a lot of devised theater, make a lot of theater with a lot of different collaborators, and so I never quite have to choose. I don't like choosing, I just like doing and making. So from there I started out auditioning, but also when I wasn't auditioning, I was just making theater and producing it and partnering with people.
Now you're primarily a director now, but do you go back to act every once in a while?
I do sometimes. I haven't in a long time, but I do love it. Yeah.
And having been an actor, going into directing, is that experience make it you more cognizant of, as you're staging a show, what an actor needs?
I hope so. I think so. I love acting, and I love actors, and I think it helps me really connect to what everybody works through their role in their own way, and has their own particular artistic journey through whatever their part is. But I hope, and as a teaching artist as well, I hope that all of that helps me connect with the people in my company so that we can make the show together. I don't see it, directing for me is kind of like coaching in a sense. I feel like we're all collaborating, and it's just a question of editing and finding what we're really going to share.
How many shows can you direct on average in the course of a year?
It depends. This year was great. I went from Cry It Out right into Christmas Carol, which was really fun to be in the rehearsal room two shows in a row. But I also really love casting. I love producing. I love all the different kind of community engagement activities we get to do at Hartford Stage, connecting with all the different neighborhoods in Hartford. So all of that for me is all part of the storytelling and sharing stories and connecting with each other. So it's pretty holistic. I look at it pretty holistic.
So what's next for you?
So we've got the rest of the season going on. So I work for Hartford Stage full time. So when
whatever they need you to do.
Whatever, yeah, exactly. I'm here to answer the call. But yeah, so after this is Pike Street, and then we move into Jane Eyre, and I'm so excited for all of it.
Very good. And how about you, Jam?
So I grew up in Kingston, Jamaica, but
See, I knew that wasn't a Boston accent, Mark. I knew it.
What are you talking about? But I spent every summer in New York. And at the time, going to a Broadway show wasn't exorbitant. You could get like a twofer and you could go and see. So I saw like the original company of Annie, and I saw like the Tap Dance Kid and all of these shows. And I remember from being very young, when someone would leave the stage and then they come on the other way, I was like, that's magic. Like, how did that happen? Like, it never occurred to me that they could just run around when I was young. I think the show that did it for me was I got to see the original company of Dreamgirls, and that just blew my mind.
Wow.
And I'd never seen a response like that from an audience. And the first act went down and people said bravo, and it wasn't Jennifer Holliday. I can't remember who it was, but she stepped in front of the curtain and she sang the whole song again.
During intermission?
What would have been the intermission? And 12-year-old me was just like, what is happening? and that was that. Like, that was how I was like, people can make people feel that and like do that. And
that was my first Broadway show.
Dreamgirls?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a live performance can move someone.
Oof. I mean, that was thrilling.
We haven't gotten to the dance captain yet, but you two, but the two of you have both, the way it sounds like, seeing those live performances really, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Hands down, there was no other option. Yeah. It was like, life can be like that.
Yeah, it sparked something, and then, I didn't really know how it was going to happen. Yeah. But then, I think once you get bit by the bug, or the bug chooses you, you know what I mean? Like, it finds a way, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, that's real.
What about you, Sarah?
Well, I grew up in Minnesota, like I said, and my uncle is an actor in Minneapolis, and he played Scrooge in A Christmas Carol when I was young, and I saw my first play was A Christmas Carol.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and so I have known what the life of an actor, his wife is also an actor in Minneapolis, I've known what the life of an actor looks like, and it seemed possible, and I could ask him questions my whole childhood and high school and college years about how does this work? How do you make your life work around this? And
did he ever invite you to sort of the behind the scenes of anything that he was?
We got to go backstage a lot and see all the...
You're very fortunate, because other kids growing up, most of them, I have to imagine, don't get that.
Yeah. So I got to see
behind the scenes.
I got to see behind the scenes, and I got to see how the magic worked, and it was...
The people walk from one side of the stage to the other.
That's how it happens. Except for in here, it's through here. But yeah, so I don't remember ever wanting to do anything else.
Good.
Right.
Now,
That's what I've always wanted.
you're based in Hartford now.
Yeah.
And what about you? Are you based here in Hartford year-round, or did you come up back year after year to from somewhere else to
We
Hartford?
live in the same neighborhood in New York. So we're both Astoria
Yes, we
natives
are.
in
Queens.
New York. Yeah. But yeah, live and work in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because throughout the year, I just had an audition in the city for a show, and I walk in, and she was my reader.
That's how I see everyone.
Yeah, which was wild.
To make the mom phone call?
No.
To my mom?
Yeah. Debbie didn't get me
She'd
into
pick
that
up
one.
if you called, though.
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
She just doesn't have that kind of clout.
So what's next on your agendas when Christmas Carol's over? Do you have another show planned, or are you auditioning?
I'm going to be an extra in a show on Broadway coming up. Which is very exciting.
Can you say which show?
I don't think I'm supposed to say.
Okay.
What does
think
an
they just told
extra
me.
in a Broadway show mean?
Well, like an extra in a movie, there's one scene where a bunch of people are on stage and they don't have any lines.
That's kind of cool.
Isn't it exciting? I haven't started rehearsals yet, but that's what it is.
I didn't know they had extras on Broadway.
I recently learned about it.
I guess
See,
that's
audition
I
came.
would have thought that would have been normal, just for that exact purpose.
Yeah.
You know, you need people for whatever performance it is. Don't say anything, just stand there and look pretty.
Yeah.
And boom, you're there.
Well, a lot of times they have supernumeraries, what they call them
The opera.
supernumeraries at the opera, and so
Yeah.
there's lots of people who do fulfill that role on those very big opera stages. But in Broadway, it's less common, so it's really exciting to have that opportunity because it's not and be part of something exciting like that. Because it's when they're filling out communities in opera, there's quite a lot of people, some of whom do that their entire lives.
I worked my way through school in college. I was a theater major, and when the Metropolitan Opera would come to Washington, D.C., they would be hiring supers and extras all the time, and I got to be a spear chucker and Aida, and stuff like that.
You
It
know
was
the
fun.
thrill,
It was
yeah.
fun.
So I must ask you too. So home is currently Astoria, Queens, New York. So you're up here for 2 months, 6 weeks or so. Do you live here now, or are you going back and forth to New York every day?
Hartford Stage houses us.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because that's a
They
heck
have some
of a commute.
apartments
Okay.
downtown that
Oh,
they
perfect.
After house.
But we do go back and forth.
Yeah.
Got to go home and feed the cat.
Hopefully the cat comes with you.
Yeah, the cat can come. But like, actors don't always have just one job. So like, while I was here, I shot a day on a TV show, and then I had
Here in Hartford?
No.
Oh,
I had to go back to New York
gotcha.
and do that. And then there are auditions that happen, and your agent goes, come back, and so you get on the CT rail and you go down and. You
Don't
meet.
get going on the CT rail. That's Mark's favorite thing.
It's kind of amazing.
I'm glad it's
saved.
there.
It's yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's changed things
It
getting
has.
from
Yeah.
here to New
And
York, for sure.
You can actually walk from here to the train station.
You can. Oh, it's
Yeah.
easy. Yeah.
It's not that far.
No. It's very
So
easy.
you take 3 hours, go down, audition for 5 minutes, and come back.
The life of an
last year.
actor.
And hopefully you know somebody in the audition room.
Sometimes.
As we're taping today, we're in between shows. There was a matinee earlier, and then is there one show tonight?
Yes, there is.
Oh, the community night is
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
So how does the audience change from the student shows to the regular shows? I mean, are the students react differently, or
Yes.
Yeah. Every audience has its own personality, but you guys can talk to what it's like to perform for the student groups versus the other nights.
Being a ghost, our job is to scare the audience, and kids have way more fun being scared than I think our normal evening performances audiences do. So they scream and jump, and it's a great time. I love the matinees with the students.
The kids are, when I stand in the back of the student matinees, they're really vocal, and you kind of know exactly where they're keying into. Sometimes adult audiences are a little more reserved, and you know that they're with you. You can feel them. They're laughing at things that are funny. But the kids sometimes are even more verbal about what they're getting or who they're rooting for.
Yeah, there was a
they're-
girl today in the
Yeah.
audience who was just like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, what are you on about?
Yeah,
and like
you
Tiny
know.
Tim said something, she's like, oh, like so verbal.
It's
there's a
wonderful
kiss,
because you
they
know where
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
with the kids.
Yeah. You
But
know
do-
where you're at, you know? It's
But do
great.
the lights in your eyes prevent you really from from seeing that young girl, or do you just hear her?
You feel it.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I didn't see her, but yeah, I heard her throughout the show today. She was into it.
Good.
One of the questions I had, I know that Hartford Stage and many other theaters do what they call sensory-friendly productions. Now, Christmas Carol has,
December 7th.
how is the show different in a situation like that compared to a regular performance?
So a sensory-friendly performance, or some people call it a relaxed performance, it takes into account a whole range of sensory experiences. And so what we do is we keep the lights in the audience on a little bit so people can see each other and feel comfortable. We also dull down a little bit, tone down the lights so that they're not so bright. Because there's a lot of special lighting effects in this show, strobes and other things. So we kind of smooth that out a little bit so it doesn't, so it's a little calmer. And then the sound cues aren't as shocking, because the whole idea is that you want it to be a really inclusive environment for anyone who's coming either on the autism spectrum or otherwise, who might need just a little bit of a calmer experience. But the theater, the acting stays the same.
So you answered my question. What is the purpose of a performance like that?
It's so people can come with their families, come out for a night. There's no judgment. All are welcome, and they can be exactly who they are. Some people need earphones to keep the noise level down. They can wear them. Some people need to verbalize or talk or move.
Yeah.
All of that is welcome. If you need to get up in the middle of the show, it's encouraged. We have different areas of the lobby here where you can go and maybe relax for a little bit if you're getting overstimulated and then you want to go back into the theater. So it's just a very welcoming experience.
Have you run into a situation during one of those performances where an audience member maybe gets a little bit too involved in the performance?
In the best way, yeah.
And do you interact with that person at all?
I think last year someone wanted to come on stage.
Yeah.
But
it was...
Yeah.
You just roll with it.
You roll with it.
But also the theater has it set up. I mean, there are two people from the house management side who are on either side of the stage. And I don't remember having to really deal with it. I think they kind of like intervened and and we just went on with it.
redirected.
Yeah.
So do you have a different, I'm sorry, Mark, do you have a different mindset going into a sensory production versus your normal Saturday night show or Friday night show? Maybe from the sense of, all right, I know people are going to speak up, people are going to move around, whereas on a normal show, you're not used to that. So do you go into it a little bit, do you prepare yourself differently as you to perform on a sensory night?
Not too
Because
much.
I look at it as, it must be distracting. If you're on stage.
Oh, it's not. It's
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of like just adjust it. The show is the show. We know that we're going in, it's a new audience, and what we're doing is delivering this story to this new audience, as we do every single show. And so you might like hear some verbalizing, but you just kind of roll with it. Like, we're doing the same job that we do no matter if it was a regular Saturday night or not. You know, our job is to tell the story in whatever situation or circumstance that there is. And, you know, these people just react differently.
Yeah, and sometimes it's actually really exciting because you can tell when people are getting very thrilled about something. You know it. It's visceral, and
you
so
feel
that's,
it. You feel it on stage.
Yeah. So that's really
In some ways, maybe there's a better reaction actor-audience in a performance like that than there is in a regular.
Well, there's something to, you know, just about the fact that theater is community, and theater is something that can save people's lives, and it feels like a bit like an honor to be able to open this up to communities that don't necessarily get to have it. So it is a privilege, really. It's not an annoyance or it really is kind of like a thrilling thing and a privilege to be able to go, okay, this is this thing that we do and we love, and we get to share it with audiences that don't normally get to have that experience, and it's a privilege. It really is an honor to do it.
Yeah, I get to go out every year before the show without my mask on, so I can go up to people and they can touch the mask and see that it's not, that I'm a real person, so they don't have to be as scared. But I get to meet all these people. It's actually, it's lovely.
Well, you mentioned before that theater is community, and Hartford Stage, it seems, has done a lot to really interact with the community, not only bringing in area children to be in A Christmas Carol, but in the previous show, Cry It Out, which was about new parents of infants, there was a babysitting thing that they did, and with some of the other performances, there were talkbacks and all that. Do you feel that this enhances not only the community's experience, but yours as performers and creators?
Yeah. Theater only exists because of community. I mean, so it's not one, for me, it's essential, right? To make theater that has the capacity to interact as fully as it can in all the different ways that it can. So as many different points of entry as you can have. This is a living building. And as many ways that you can fling open those doors and invite people in, we want to find them, and we want to figure out how to make this a really robust community center. Because as Jam was just saying, like theater does save lives and enhances lives, and this whole street and this whole city is enlivened because of storytelling, which is one of the oldest things that we do as a collective human race.
You're getting the producer to...
It's time for us to take a quick break so we can have some more water.
There you
and acknowledge our underwriters. You're listening to 89.5 FM WSKB and Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 in Westfield. I'm Mark Auerbach with ArtsBeat. My co-host today is Patrick Berry. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. Teresa McNaughton from Hartford Stage made all the arrangements for you all to be with us and us to be with you. And we'll be back after a short break.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by R. Levesque Associates. They are offering landscape architecture, civil engineering, environmental permitting, and land surveying. RLA is a second-generation company devoted to excellence in the planning and design of outdoor spaces. On the web at rlaland.com or at 40 School Street in Westfield.
Wednesday mornings from 6 till 8, it's Tina Gorman with Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio, 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back, everyone. This is ArtsBeat Radio and Television, broadcasting today from Hartford Stage in Hartford, Connecticut, just south of the border. If you're interested in more information on A Christmas Carol and the other programs that are coming to Hartford Stage this year, hartfordstage.org, and Hartford Stage has a great presence on Facebook, so you can always look at some of the upcoming performances there, see interviews with people involved and little snippets. There's really a great one right now with regard to A Christmas Carol, and it's the people backstage getting the actor Noble Shropshire ready to fly, so to speak, and how they do a quick costume change, and it's one of the better videos that are out there. So you do check it out. What makes A Christmas Carol resonate with so many people year after year after year?
It's we talk about this every year because it's it's ritual, and it's a beautiful story of redemption and transformation. And I mean, every year I have a different answer to that question, I think, because depending on what's going on in the year makes me come to it for all the different reasons. And for this year, I think it's really about the agency of a community and helping Scrooge change, and the power that every single individual has in the community to affect change, right from the smallest member of the society, Tiny Tim, to the older members of that community, and the ways that they can help someone transform and find joy, and then that joy transforms the entire group. But
So
that's just my answer this year. Talk to me again next year.
We'll be here again next year. So it's 22 years,
22
right?
years,
It's been being. Why keep doing it? Why not do a different Christmas-themed performance? Why the same one and not something different?
Well, first of all, the production is beautiful.
Absolutely.
It's not a rinky-dink production.
No, it's not.
So my first year coming and seeing it, I was like, what? Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to do a Christmas Carol. And then I was like, whoa, this Christmas Carol is like, there are people flying out of the ground. And like, I mean, it's extra.
I will say, I've been to many performances here. The way the folks that work here pull things off, people flying out of the ground. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me what can get done on the stage over here. It really is. So HartfordStage.org, get your tickets, get down here. Had to get that plug in. But to your point, it is amazing when you walk in and you see how things get done.
Yeah, but also, I mean, like, I think, there's something, this is a great time of year to be reminded about our humanity. And that, I think the thing that resonates with me about this story is, life can make people close their heart, and that can be a very sad thing. And just a reminder that it's possible to open that up and to love and be loved, and what it means to be a part of a community and to have your humanity. That's a wonderful reminder that everyone needs every year, and him being redeemed every performance is, and how Michael Preston plays, especially some of those last moments. It's like it makes you feel things every time. So I think that's why it endures, because just the reminder that being open and being loving, and we're human, and it's good to have all of that gooey stuff.
Now, you'll be back next year.
I sure
Now,
hope
will you
so,
have
yeah.
a whole new cast, or are you going to invite these
So the
lovely folks back again?
The joy of this is that it is a real holiday family. And when you have a cast that comes back year after year, we were just doing a talk back with the students after the student matinee, and some of the cast members were sharing that every year you think you've learned enough, you think you've learned it, but you come back and you dig a little deeper and you find something new. And we were just talking about, Sarah has just found there's this little moment, like a tiny moment in the party scene that all of a sudden it's new and it's different because of who she is, who she's playing opposite. And when people keep coming back to the show year after year, families will come with children, and the children are growing and changing. I first brought my son 3 years ago, and he was a little too young. Don't bring your kids if they're going to be scared of ghosts. but now he's 7, but the show means something different to him now because he's older now and he can understand certain elements of the show. Yeah. So every year when you come back with your family or your friends, you're coming to it with so much more experience, the whole year's worth of experience that you're bringing to bear on the show, and it's a reminder of your year, and it's a time to set intentions for the year ahead. And
it's interesting. Mark and I have had conversations with other performers at different venues who have done the same show year after year, different shows, whatever. And we get the same different response from each person. Like, I could do this in my sleep. I can do it in July, whatever it is. I just show up and I know what I'm going to do. And other performers will say, I have to rehearse every year, even though I've been doing it X number of years. I have to rehearse it every single year. Where do you fit into it?
Well, the ghosts are new every year except for me. So all that dancing we do have to rehearse. I got to join a few days late this year, which was nice because I just went in. I did know it. It did feel like
muscle memory.
It feels like it was last week.
Really? Okay.
Last year's performance. And when we got into the theater, I was like, oh, I'm just running the show. This is how I run the show. But there's new crew people this year. So there are things that are different, and that needs practice.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the Marvel cart is always the thing because I come on this like sled cart thing. So there's always a moment of like, oh, well, is this what's going to happen with the cart today? And
it's its own character.
It's its own character.
Like
it has its own life, and it like smokes and it does things, and but it does it. Yes, you could do it by rote, but for me, I feel like it takes a little while to drop in.
Okay.
So that still needs a couple times of doing it over and over again to then kind of go, oh, right, that's where that lives, and this is where this lives, you know, for it to, and then it continues to live throughout the whole run. Like you try it on, and like there are new little discoveries this year, and even like how it starts this year. There's like a little line change because it was a happy accident in the room, and we're like, hey, can we do that happy accident? Yeah, let's do it.
Tweak it as you go.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Also, I think we try really hard not to take any of it for granted. And I always have a new assistant director because we have an amazing apprenticeship program. So I always say to the assistant director, I say, your ears are so much fresher than mine at this point. And fresher than other people's in the room. So I want you, if we're taking something for granted, if you don't understand why this person is making this cross or why they're choosing to do something in this moment, I said, I want you to take your own notes so you can tell me, well, I don't understand why we do this. Because there might be something that is vestigial that has been a leftover because someone else decided to do it and we just accept that that's truth. But then,
a new set of eyes.
But a new set of eyes. And
Yeah,
Jasmine Gunter, who's our assistant director this year, who's great, she'll say things like, hey, why this? And I'm like, oh, why that? That's a really good point. Let's unwrap that and let's make this meaningful again. So that's another great part of the journey too.
Have you met anybody who saw A Christmas Carol here at Hartford Stage 20 years ago who's brought their kids? Like
Maybe they came as a kid?
For
Yeah,
sure.
came as a kid, bringing their kids. So it's a new generation of audience.
A few, 7 or 8 years ago, one of the Hart students grew up in the area, and she always dreamed of being the flying ghost. And then she got to be the flying ghost, which was so exciting for her.
Yeah, there is a lot of examples of, because when I hang out, we have an upper lobby, which has a gallery, and this year we're celebrating our 1,000th, I can't say that, 1,000th performance. So
Of A Christmas Carol?
Of A Christmas Carol, like we've performed the show 1,000 times. And so our upper lobby is entirely filled with production photos from all the years, just wonderful, wonderful photos. And I've been listening to audience members, and they're all talking about, I remember that, and oh, do you remember that one and that actor, and oh, that was when he did that, and and then there's grandparents telling grandchildren these stories, and friends who are bringing new friends, and they're all just listening. It's kind of like listening, overhearing, eavesdropping on a family reunion, because they know so many people on that wall.
Have any of the kids that have appeared in previous productions gone on to professional theater that you're aware of?
I think so.
I'm assuming so.
I know.
We're sitting right next to the dance
Right, exactly. Well, there's been a couple of kids. Atticus Barillo, who was in the show my first year and second year, he's gone on to do. He was in a show at Yale Rep. He was on Blue Bloods. Some kids really kind of find their life force in theater, and they move on beyond.
So how many? 22 years. How many people have been here the whole run?
None.
Well, Noble, not the whole time. I don't know that everybody's been here the entire time, but they're Alan Russ, Noble, Shropshire, Bob Davis has been here for quite
And
quite,
Rebecca.
and Rebecca.
Maybe started come and gone.
Yeah,
And
there's
come
been
back.
some time maybe where they had to miss us a year for whatever reason, but there's been some real longevity in
Hope.
and Hope Clark, who's
Hope
been
Clark
here,
comes
she's
every year, the
incredible.
choreographer.
Yeah.
Well, I know Alan is very excited because if we don't cancel any more shows, he will get his 900th performance this year. And so he's like,
awesome.
Do not cancel any more.
So that brings up a good point. Earlier, as December launched, we ran into some snowstorms. Did you have to cancel shows?
We did have to cancel a student matinee because all the schools were canceled.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, so they couldn't come. But most of the time we power through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
very good.
and-
That's
and-
amazing.
yeah.
The show must go on.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
And it does, it does. We're almost out of time, and I first of all wanted to thank Rachel Alderman, who's the director and a member of the staff here at Hartford Stage, and John Andrew Morrison, who is known as Jam, who's one of the performers, and Sarah Killo, who's a performer and a dance captain. Also want to thank Teresa McNaughton from the Publicity and Press Department here at Hartford Stage for inviting us down to do a couple of programs from the lobby here during a Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol runs till the end of December. For information on that and the upcoming programs at Hartford Stage, visit their website at hartfordstage.org or check out their Facebook page and like it, because regardless of what the show is, there's always going to be some interesting interviews with people involved in video. And right now, there's a great one of the actor Noble Shropshire being dressed up and ready to fly, and there's a interview with one of the costume people about how they maintain the show and keep it fresh. You've been listening to Arts Beat Radio and TV today. Next week, we're going to be back here at Hartford Stage. We're going to talk to the artistic director, Melia Ben-Susan, and Cynthia Ryder, who's the managing director. We're going to learn about one of the most respected regional theaters and a Tony Award winner here in New England. And Hartford Stage has sent shows like A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder and
Do you think
Anastasia.
they'll let us touch the Tony?
That with Best Musical
You got
Tony
it.
Award. But
Wear
Hartford
white
Stage,
gloves.
Hartford Stage actually has a Tony Award.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
I know.
for regional theater. So we'll be back again next week, and we're going to leave you with a little holiday music. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer, and this is come back and see us next Friday at 8 a.m. for another Arts Beat.